President, please be seated. The chamber is now back in session. I give the floor to Councillor Victor Kope.
Mr. President, just for the record, E3/10,045, which was just discussed with the witness, we've checked that document and the translation. In Xylab, it appears that that document or the translation was created today. That is while we were in court. And it wasn't notified to the parties yet. So the suggestion that we have somehow not used our time well in preparing for this witness is uncalled for.
Sorry, are you saying just to understand, are you saying that the official translation is creative? Because my understanding is that this has been officially translated. Or is this another document?
Well, no, the prosecution obviously didn't have an English translation. The parties didn't have either. But it turns out that the translation apparently has just been created in Xylab, the official translation, today. The creation date is today. It hasn't been notified yet to the parties, so we were not in a position to know of its translation. That's my point.
Councillor Kopi, the only thing I did was to inform the parties that the document is accessible in Xylab. You have the possibility of accessing Xylab from the courtroom. So if you want to carry out verifications, this is why I made these remarks. But if you thought that these remarks were useless, well, I don't think that that is quite fair.
President, the floor is given to the lead co-lawyer for civil party to put question to the witness.
Thank you, Mr. President, and good morning to all of you. I have a comment to make on what our colleague has just said, even if I risk opening up a discussion, but however, it is important to me simply to specify that the Nunciat defense did not object to the admission into evidence of the documents that served as the base of the OCIJ list. And we all know that most of the documents that were used as the base for the OCIJ list were not translated. They were simply available in Khmer. So I'm a bit concerned by my colleague's attitude, because if we can only use documents that are translated in all three languages, well, the number of documents would be very, very limited. And here, once again, the defense had the occasion and the opportunity to make objections, and these objections were not made at the right moment. So I didn't want to open up a whole discussion on this, but simply I would like you to understand that there's a difficulty or reality here, and to let you know that most documents that are used as a base for the new OCIJ list are only available in Khmer and were admitted by the chamber in Khmer, that is to say, in one of the working languages of the court. That is a reality. Now, in terms of my questions now, witness, well, good morning. My name is Marie Guiraud, and I represent the Civil Party Collective in this trial, and I have a few follow-up questions to put to you, basically speaking, so that I may understand a bit more in detail your daily work at S21. And I have one or two questions to start regarding the registration process in itself. You clearly explained that you were in charge of drawing up lists and of drawing up short biographies of the prisoners who were arriving at S21. And very concretely speaking, I'd like to know how you would note down the names of the prisoners arriving at S21. Did these people provide you orally with their names and then you would write them down phonetically on a phonetic basis, or was there another process that you followed for you to know the names of the people that you had to record in your lists?
For the prisoners who were brought into the prisons, I made the list myself when they were brought in. I had the names of their parents and their occupations and the zones where they came from. And that was the brief information.
And on the basis of that name that you would record, was it the person arriving who would give you his or her name orally and then you would record it? Or was that the process you followed back then? Was that the procedure you had to follow?
Regarding the procedure, when they came, I asked them their names and I wrote accordingly based on the answers.
So is it so that you would record the names on a phonetic basis? That is to say, the person would tell you his or her name, and then you would note down that person's name or the name that you heard. Is that the case?
Yes, that is correct. I wrote down the names based on the answer they gave to me. I usually use simple questions that were easy for them to answer.
Thank you. Things are much clearer now. Would you also systematically note down if the person was accompanied by family members or not?
Every prisoner who were brought in, I wrote down their names except children who were brought along with their parents, that I did not include the names of those children.
And when, for example, when families arrived, when couples arrived, would you record that information? Would you record the fact that a person was maybe the spouse of another person or the brother of another person? Would you record that kind of information on a systematic basis in your lists?
For those prisoners who were brought in with their families, I did not record their family relationship. I simply recorded each name on an individual basis.
You spoke about the arrival of families. So, did you see entire families arrive on a frequent basis to be registered at S21?
For spouse and children, such cases did not happen often. Such cases happen mostly with Vietnamese people who were brought from Kampong Saum.
So you're telling us that the Vietnamese people arriving from Kampong Saum generally came with their families. Is that what I must understand from your answer?
Yes, that's correct. Many of the people who were brought in together with their families were mostly those who tried to flee to another country.
So families you considered as Vietnamese families, and I'm using the words you used in your previous answer, not necessarily.
Yes, mostly were Vietnamese families.
Je vous remercie.
Thank you. Yesterday you spoke about a young boy who would assist you and who arrived in 1978 from Leang. And you said yesterday when you were answering the co-prosecutor that Lan, this young boy, therefore, was about 14 to 15 years old. So I would like you to react to another one of your statements, which says that Lung is much younger, and I'm referring here to your interview with DCCAM E3/9320, French ERN 0028492, English 009095153, Khmer 000520015. And you say when you answered the person questioning you back then that he was older than 10. And when we read the Khmer version, my colleagues tell me that you're saying in Khmer that he was around 10 years old. So my question is the following. Was Lan a child or was Lan an adolescent?
At that time, Lan was an adolescent.
So when you said to the DCCAM person that he was around 10 years old, your estimate was rather conservative, and now today you're telling us that he was 14 or 15 years old today. So is that your answer?
It's from my estimation. I did not know his exact age because I did not know about his biography.
Est-ce que Lan savait?
Did Lan know how to write?
Lan could write. previously he was in the children unit, and because he could write, he was brought in to assist my work.
Did he ever write up lists as well, or would he assist you in a more subordinate position, we could say? Did he himself draw up lists of the people entering and leaving S21?
He did not do it often regarding those who were brought in and taken away. He assisted us, especially when it was a very busy time. His main task was to record the numbers of the prisoners who were put in various cells.
Thank you. During the time when you worked at S21, did you ever allow prisoners to work outside? That is to say, to work within the prison compound, but however sent to work on a specific task. Is this something that you ever allowed?
I had no right to order or to remove those prisoners who were allowed to work outside. It was Ho who had that authority.
I would like now to quote the testimony of a civil party who came here to testify, Mr. Chumei, and who said the following. So I'm going to read out what he said, and I'd like to know if this somehow refreshes your memory. So this is, we're speaking here about the end of his stay at S21, and he says the following. This was 19 April 2016, Mr. President, just before 11/21/29, and he said the following. At the end, Sosti came to ask who had been sent from Orusei, and I answered that it was me, and he said that the next day I will be allowed to work outside, but he asked me not to flee. The next day, Sosti came back with clean clothes. He unshackled my ankles, but handcuffed me, and they asked me to put on an underdraw and a shirt, and he brought me to the back of the building to fix the sewing machines. So, does this event somehow refresh your memory?
It happened a long time ago. My memory does not serve me well. But I would like to clarify that it was Ho who had the authority to order prisoners to work outside.
And could Ho give someone else the order to implement his request? And if yes, who concretely could do so? Who could assign the prisoners to other assignments when normally they were assigned to work within the S21 compound?
Ho was S21 deputy, so he had the authority over all the guards. and he could assign people.
Je vous remercie. Avez
Thank you. Do you remember people being assigned to cleaning and to transporting excrement? Yesterday, when you explained or when you described the different units at S21 and the organization of the staff, do you remember if there were people who were assigned to transport and clean excrement?
I do not recall it clearly, but what I remember is that the cleaning task was the responsibility of the guards unit.
No other recollections in that regard? And in particular, once the excrement was cleaned, do you know where the excrement was transported? Do you remember that, even if this happened a long time ago?
It was not my responsibility with such kind of task, and that's why I did not pay much attention to them.
Thank you. Back then, when you were in charge of the list at S21, did you ever hear of cases of female prisoners who were raped by S21 staff? Is this something that you heard of back then?
I was not aware of it.
The reason I'm asking you this question is that other witnesses who are more talkative than you testified in the weeks prior to today, and I'd like to quote Him Hoi, who came to testify on the 5th of May before this chamber, and who said, after 1358, and you are directly concerned by this, so let me read out what Him Hoi said. He's speaking about a rape that apparently took place at S21, and he says the following in that regard. I said that the person who had been raped, the female prisoner, or I said the person who had raped the female prisoner was a rather young boy of 12 to 14 years old who came from the West. Then a training session was organized, and we spoke about the rape of this female prisoner, and this young boy was not Dutch. He then says, I do not know the name of this person, but Brother T, he knew. It was a young guard who was working with Teng, and he says in response to Counsel Koppe that this was a young boy who was about 14 years old. Peg was guarding, and Susti might have known this young boy who raped the female prisoner. So what I want to know, witness, is if Him Hoi's testimony refreshes your memory, and if you remember rape that apparently was committed by a young guard you knew back then.
let me clarify on this issue. I did not know it well because it was within the work of the guards unit. So what Hum Hui said, I could not comment on it. I simply concentrated on my work 24 hours a day, and I could not go out to anywhere.
Donc, comme
So when Him Hoi said before this chamber that you might have known this young guard who committed this rape, this somehow doesn't remind you of anything now.
I tell the truth. If I remember it, I would tell you. It was, as I told you, it was within the task of the guards unit, so it was Hui who had more knowledge about this. I was so busy with my task. There was only one person to do my task, so I did not have time to pay attention to such things.
vous étiez très pris.
You were very busy, of course. However, you were at the center of many things. So I'd like you to react to other instances of rape we have been speaking about since the beginning of the S21 segment in order to know if this might refresh your memory. Lac Mien, on 26 April 2016, spoke about an instance of rape implying a guard by the name of Toik, who apparently raped a female prisoner. Toi then tried to jump off the top of a building. So did you hear about this event? And if that is the case, what can you tell us about it?
President, Mr. Witness, please hold on. I give the floor to Victor Copé.
Yes, Mr. President. Maybe the translation wasn't conveyed properly because of the name, but I think we're talking about the same incident, an alleged rape by Dutch. I don't recall them speaking about two different incidents, but I might be mistaken because of the name.
Well, I don't understand the objection. I'm speaking about two different incidents of rape. One involving a young guard, a very young guard, who apparently Sosti knew. That's one event. And the second event is an incident that involved a guard by the name of Touch, T-O-U-C-H, who apparently jumped off a building. And so this is a second instance.
Avant que...
Well, before my colleague takes the floor, maybe it would be helpful if you could give us the references of the drafts. This, in fact, would allow us to avoid this confusion and to check the spelling. Thank you.
It's my understanding that we speak about one incident because of the differences in names, but
President, there was only one incident, and the correct name is Tuj.
I suggest to check the transcript. If I remember correctly, but as I said, the transcript is the one to check. We were talking about 2 rape incidents at S21 at the time. But yes, why not
but
give us the transcript instead of discussing about the transcript?
Je pense qu'il faut effectivement.
I think that we can clean the debate and each party can look at the transcript. I believe I gave the references. Let me give them again for the first incident I referred to. And as far as I'm concerned, there are 2 separate incidents. I was referring to the testimony of Sing Hoi, who testified on the 5th of May, and I quoted an extract shortly after 13 hours 58:38. That is the first incident as far as I'm concerned. As regards the second incident, I was referring to a particular incident. I was referring to the testimony of Lak Min, who testified before this chamber on the 26th of April 2007, and the time is just before 10 hours 16:38 seconds.
J'espère avoir.
I hope I have clarified my understanding of these incidents, which I consider as separate, and I have also cross-checked that with my Khmer colleague. I would like the witness to react to a third separate incident, which may have involved a member of the medical staff called Sun. Witness, did you know during that period a member of the medical staff called Sun, and it is written as follows: Soeung, Sun.
Apparemment, j'ai bien prononcé.
Apparently, I pronounced it correctly.
I cannot recall the names clearly. After medics from former Division 703 had been arrested, new medics were brought in, and they were pretty young, and I cannot recall their names clearly.
Et sans vous souvenir nécessairement de leur nom.
And although you may not necessarily recall the name, do you nevertheless recall an event involving a nurse who raped a detainee? Is that something you remember, or you do not remember it at all?
As I have indicated, regarding the affairs outside my work, I did not pay my interest in it. All the works were organized by Ho, Hoi, and Paying, and I simply focused on my personal assignment, and I was not interested in any other works organized by these individuals.
Merci, et j'ai juste une.
Thank you. I have a last question, Mr. President. Since I realize I'm running out of my time, did you know a guard at the time called Choi, who is believed to have fled to Vietnam?
Allow me to say that my recollection of names is not clear at the present time. There was an incident where a prisoner successfully fled.
Je vous parle ici d'un gardien.
I am referring to a guard here. He is believed to have fled to Vietnam. Does that ring a bell to you? That guard was accused of moral misconduct.
Regarding a guard who was accused of misconduct, I cannot recall it. As I said, it happened many years ago, and I did not pay my attention to the words of other people.
Je vous remercie, Monsieur le témoin.
Thank you, witness. Thank you, Mr. President. I have no further questions to the witness.
President, I'd like now to hand the floor to Judge Lavergne to put questions to this witness. You may take the floor, Judge Lavergne.
Merci, Monsieur le Président.
Thank you, Mr. President. Good morning, witness. I have a number of questions for you. These questions essentially are follow-up questions. I'd like us to start by revisiting your biography, and it is a document that was shown to you yesterday. There were two biographies. One was short, and the other one was much longer. Regarding the much longer biography, the reference number is E3/10/570. In that biography, at point number 5, there is a column regarding the class status, and you stated under that column, pure class status. Can you tell us what that means, being of a pure class? Let me point out that the Khmer page is 012-416-10, and the page in English, I beg your pardon, is at the end of point number 5, and it's the first page. What does it mean to belong to a pure class?
I would like to review that biography before I make my response to Your Honor's question.
Alors, si vous n'avez pas ce document, je peux vous le faire.
If you do not have the document before you, I can have it presented to you.
Excusez-moi, pendant que le témoin...
Counsel Gise, while the witness is looking at the document, can we confirm that we do not have the full translation in French, and it's document E3/10/570? Judge Lavergne, to be very frank, I do not have the French version before me. I have only the English version. And just before point number 6, we have class status pure. And Gise, that doesn't feature in the French. I just wanted to be sure. Judge Lavergne, I prepared for my questioning on the version that was available, and it is in English. Now, the question is whether it does exist in Khmer.
Est-ce
Here it refers to the origin of the class status.
Est-ce que vous pouvez répéter?
Judge Laveng, can you please repeat what you said?
ដែល
Here in this biography, it mentions the origin of a class, not a pure class, as you indicated.
ហើយវណ្ណភាពដើម
And here for the origin class status, it refers to the profession after joining the revolution, as well as the class status of being a soldier.
I think the question is if it is filled in. I have the French version open. It simply doesn't. It has the line, but it doesn't have a. It isn't filled in. Yeah. So what about the Khmer version? Can somebody look into the Khmer version?
លោកប្រើតួចំណុច
President Judge Lavenge, please indicate to the chamber which point you actually focusing, in particular which number on the Khmer document.
Alors, dans le document,
Judge Laveng, in the Khmer document, it's on the second page, and the Khmer ERN is 012 41 610. And in the English version, it is directly under point number 6. It is stated, occupation.
il y a une ligne
After joining the revolution, there is a line on which we find class status pure. And Tagise, in Khmer, I am told that there is no particular entry and that it's an error in the English translation.
confiance.
Judge Laveng, once more, let me point out that I am relying on the French version. In this biography, you mention your brothers and sisters. Yesterday, you stated that you are not able to join the PCK because of your family background. Can you be more specific? In what way did your family background prevent you from being a member of the Communist Party of Cambodia, CPK?
Regarding my biography, I can say that I could not become a member of the party. I was in fact a member of the Youth League, since that I was active during the war period. And after that, through the examination of my biography, it was found out that all my family members and relatives lived in Phnom Penh. And during the coup d'etat, after the coup d'etat by Lon Nol, I returned to my native village, while the rest of my brothers and sisters, and every four of them, were still living in Phnom Penh. And I was by myself in the native village to look after our house and belongings. So they could see that within the examination of my biography, the rest of the family members lived under the Lon Nol regime. And that I was also categorized as a petty bourgeoisie student, and for that reason I would never become a member of the party due to this background.
Alors, vous dites que
Now, you state that all your family members resided in Phnom Penh. You were even more specific in your biography, since you stated that you had a sister who was a member of the medical staff and 2 brothers who were soldiers. Were they soldiers in the Lon Nol army, Mr. Swosti?
They were Lon Nol soldiers.
Est-ce qu'il leur est arrivé quelque chose?
Did anything happen to them during the Democratic Kampuchea regime?
During the decay period, after they did the research and found out that my other brothers were former soldiers, they were arrested and killed, and one of my elder brothers, who was also a soldier, actually was evacuated to Battambang, and due to the shortage of food, he died.
À ce jour,
Till date, you are a member of a family of 9 children. Do you still have brothers and sisters who are alive today?
Allow me to clarify that I was one of the 8 siblings. As for those who were soldiers, that included my in-laws, my younger in-laws as well. They were younger than me during the Lon Nol regime, and during the Khmer Rouge regime, all were evacuated to live in Battambang province. They worked in a mobile unit in Brakal near Kokko. And only my elder sister, along with her husband, who was a former soldier, went to Battambang province.
pour répondre à ma question,
Judge Leveng, how many of your siblings are still alive today?
At the present, there are 3 of us, namely myself and my 2 younger sisters. And one of my younger sister actually is paralyzed from hypertension.
pour faire le point sur la situation familiale.
Regarding the clarification of your family situation, Mr. Swosti, were you married when you were at S21 or prior to joining S21?
I was not yet married while I was working at S21, and I got married only after the fall of the regime, and that I got married in 1981. Rather, it was 1980, not 81.
si je résume,
So if I sum up what you're saying, when you were working at S21, you had a background which you yourself described as petit bourgeois. Unless I am mistaken, you yourself studied in Phnom Penh at a school that was close to this place. Did you study at the secondary and primary school of Cham Chao?
ខ្ញុំ
I studied at Chumpu 1, that's called Lycée Chumpu 1, and I was in grade 2 in the old education system.
c'est bien un lycée qui se situe
Is that college close to Cham Chao?
It was located in Cham Chao, and it was close to Cham Chao, to Chumpu 1 pagoda.
vous avez appartenu à
You were a member of Division 112, which subsequently became Division 703, according to what you stated yesterday. Did your membership of that division a bad element in your biography?
In the biography, and if we use the term used during the regime, it refers to the not good element. However, because there were not many intellectuals, people at the time, they decided to use me.
Monsieur Siosti, je pense
Mr. Sosti, I believe that you perhaps observed that some of the prisoners at S21 came from Division 703. Was your past and belonging to a background described as petit bourgeois, and the fact that you were yourself a member of Division 112, were these elements such that you yourself could have been arrested?
I worked at office as 21, and I was so scared while I was working there. The fear was with me all the time. I observed that the people whom I used to work with, including my commander, had been arrested. And later on, Hui was also arrested. I felt so desperate that I would be arrested since I belongs to the same network. And usually people who belongs to the same network would be arrested.
est-ce que c'est
Question. Did that fear prompt you to become a zealous agent of S21?
I tried my best to work at the time so that I could be avoided of being under monitored and arrested.
passer une autre question?
Question. I'll move into another line of questioning. In the 1980s, Did your work at S21 occasion your detention? And if yes, when? And were you blamed for anything that happened?
I recall that in 1984 they came to arrest me at my home on the allegation that I worked at a Tulslang prison and I was accused of being the top chief of a Tulslang prison.
Vous avez...
Question. Were you detained? And if yes, for how long?
I was arrested and placed in prison for about 5 years. I noticed that it was 5 years because every week I made a mark on the prison wall, and I was subsequently released in 1987.
Bien.
Question. Thank you for this clarification. I would like us to broach another subject now. Yesterday, questions were put to you regarding S21 and the location of S21 as the different blocks at S21. Can you tell us whether you do recall that at the top of a gate at S21 was a red panel with inscriptions written on it? Do you remember this kind of board that was placed above a gate?
I cannot recall it clearly regarding any red board at the main gate.
Alors, je ne parle.
Question. I'm not talking of the main gate. May I ask the audiovisual unit to screen an image from the documentary E3/719R. The title is
De projeter cette image.
I don't know whether it is possible to screen that image.
Yeah.
IB unit, please display that image per Judge Levin's request.
Alors,
So, of course, it's hard to read what's written on the signboard in this image, and the chamber asked the translation unit to file a translation that will be filed very soon. And ITU provided the following translation.
heighten the spirit of revolutionary vigilance. Ensuite, il y a un mot
And then there's a word that's illegible.
tricks and absolutely protect the nation, the revolution, the people and the party. Je précise
I'd like to also specify that in Chandler's book, there is an English translation So this is in Chandler's book, Voices of S21. Oh, I cannot find the references here, but I'll give them to you later. Well, the following is said in English.
Over the gate was a red placard inscribed in yellow with a Khmer slogan: "Fortify the spirit of the revolution. Be on your guard against the strategy and tactics of the enemy so as to defend the country, the people, and the party." Est-ce que
Does this refresh your memory in any way?
As I have indicated, I cannot recall about the placard. When I left my workplace for meals, I would go straight to the dining hall, and after I finished my meal, I quickly returned to my office.
Well, just a question before the break. Do you remember, Mr. Susti, if some of the cells had metal beds in them? We've seen a certain number of pictures of S21 showing the presence of metal beds and sometimes even bodies of dead people on these metal beds. So do you remember seeing metal beds in the S21 cells?
Allow me to reiterate the points that I did not know about whatever was available in the special prison, namely any metal bed. And only later on, when I was invited for an interview and presented with a metal bed, then I realized their existence. As for those who were detained in the main buildings, they did not sleep or rest on bed. They actually slept directly on the floor. President, thank you. It is now appropriate time for a lunch break. We'll take a break now and resumed at 1:30 this afternoon. Court officer, please assist the witness at the waiting room reserved for witnesses and civil parties during the break time, and invite him as well as his duty counsel back into the courtroom at 1:30 this afternoon. Security personnel, you are instructed to take Kyu Sampon to the waiting room downstairs and have him returned to attend the proceedings this afternoon before 1:30. The court is now in recess.